In this video, we will be tackling task 13. In task 13, we need to calculate the incremental costs and qualies in our probabilistic analysis. So on the right of my screen, I have the incremental output sheet open, and you'll see that this has expanded since the last time we saw it. We have some new rows where we can calculate the incremental outputs and the means of those outputs and the 95% credible range around those outputs from our probabilistic analysis. So in step 13.1, we need to calculate the incremental costs in each iteration. So we're going to put a formula into D38 to calculate the incremental costs. So that's the costs of B minus the cost of A for cycle 1. And that's going to be copied across to future cycles and also down to other iterations. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to have an equals. We need to go to the discounting sheet. And we need to be careful here not to use, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Press equals, go back to the discounting sheet. We need to be careful not to use the values in row 34. Remember, those we used in the deterministic analysis, and these always provide the values for the current iteration. What we need to use is this table a little bit further down. And we need to start with the discounted aggregated costs for treatment B, which is this one here. So that is the one for cycle 1, so BO49. And then we need to subtract the same one for treatment A, which is D49. So press enter. And it's exactly $1,000 in cycle 1 because treatment B hasn't had a chance to have an impact yet. And of course, everyone in cycle 1 is in the asymptomatic state. They're all receiving both the treatment in question. So treatment B is exactly $1,000 more expensive. Nothing's discounted in cycle 1. So that's why it's exactly $1,000. Okay, now what about the mean? We can just use the same formulas we've used previously. I'm going to just type out again though. So equals average. What's it the average of? This cell, hold down Control and Shift and down, and then close the bracket. And that should work because this average cell is just being copied across to the right. It's not being copied up or down. So that should work. Okay, so step 13.3 is unlocked, and very much like what we were calculating on the previous sheet, I'm going to put the formula in again. A little bit of practice never hurts. So we need to do the percentile, and it's the percentile over this cell down to this cell. And in the percentile function, unlike the average function where it's just a range, we need to do a comma. And then we need to say what percentile. What is the percentile that we want to return? And so I'm going to click on where it says 2.5%. Close the bracket. And then we need to think carefully about where to put the dollar symbols in. Because this is going to be copied down a row, we need to make sure that the D38 stays as 38 and D1037 stays as 1037. But we don't want to fix the D's because when this copies across, we want that to change to E, F, G. Now, in terms of C34, we do want the 34 to change to 35 when it gets copied down, but we don't want the C to change when this gets copied across. So that looks good to me. Okay, so that's correct, and it copies correctly to the other cells. So just like on the discounting sheet, temporarily the iterations from 3 to 1,000 have been hidden, and the columns showing the cycles all the way up to 61 have been unhidden. And here we need to put in a total calculation, and just like before, we should be able to take the formula that we have here on row 23 this time, copy that into row 38 and paste the formula. And that should work. So it's a complicated formula dealing with half cycle correction, dealing with the time horizon. Better not type it all out again. There we go. Okay. So now we have the incremental qualies, and similar logic to before. We're going to do an equals, we go back to the discounting sheet, and now we want the qualies for treatment B. And remember, don't use the deterministic ones, use the first cycle of the probabilistic estimates. So that's in GK49. And then we're going to subtract the same one, but for treatment A, which is this one in DZ49. And again, it's going to be exactly 0 in cycle 1 because treatment B hasn't had any effects yet in cycle 1, but you can see it's different in the future cycles, so that's correct. In the next step, we're doing the mean, and we can just borrow this formula here from BM33 and just paste it into BO33. And then it's the percentile formula, which we should be able to copy from BM34. Okay. And then we go all the way over now for step 13.8, which is almost the last step of this task. What do we need to do here? We need to copy that total formula down here. We'll paste it. Okay, so that's correct. And then the final step of this task is to take a look around the sheet. You can use the check boxes if you wish, which I think we'll do. I think it'll help for the next task to have things tidied up here. So we can hide those columns there. And then we can hide these columns here. There's only 2 of the hide column checkboxes instead of 4 because we've condensed those costs and qualities into incremental costs and qualities. And then we'll hide the rows as well. Fantastic. So here is our completed incremental output sheet. Yeah, and it doesn't take too much space when you hide those unnecessary columns. So it's looking like on average, there's these blue cells again. These are really important. They're going to be used on the probabilistic results sheet. So on average, treatment B costs an additional $46,000 compared to treatment A, and it provides about half a quali, 0.488 of a quali compared to treatment A. Okay, so that's our incremental output sheet. We're going to tick this box here. And we're done, and I'll see you in the next video for task 14.